Guys, we're going to start. We're behind a little bit. We're on Kuf Yud Daled 114a2 at the Mishnah on the bottom. We stopped at 114a2 Mishnah on the bottom. I have to end a little earlier. This is the one great advantages of living in New York. I overslept this morning, so I missed my minyan. So I got to catch the 9 o'clock minyan. So there you go. Now, don't tell my father, so he doesn't have to. What he doesn't know won't hurt. There we go. So there we go. And he's not on yet. So there we go. So we're up to the mission. So just a small hakdama. As you know today, good morning, Jerry. As you know today, everybody, we have at the Seder, after Kiddush, we eat karpas. We wash our hands, orchatz, which the Gemara is going to talk about, and karpas. We eat karpas, which is a symbol for samach perech, 60 at hard labor, which is another way. It's supposed to be a reminder. It's supposed to be a reminder that our forefathers had 600,000 men had a very hard time in a bitter time in Egypt. Now, we then go and have Magid. We tell over the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim, of the Exodus, and only afterwards do we wash our hands, eat the matzah, and then make a bracha on maror. Now, that has always been problematic, because on the karpas you make a bayer pri adama, you then wait an hour or so until you eat the maror and you make an achilas maror. Since maror is clearly not really part of the meal, right? Really, you should be making the bayer pri adama on maror as well. So we say that they're connected. So the Mishnah over here and the Gemara that follows is asking, why do I need twice, karpas and maror? They're both vegetables. I could be mekayim the mitzvah of eating lettuce of karpas and be mekayim the mitzvah of eating maror, right? And I'll have no problem with the brachas. Now, we already know that we get out of it. There's also the problem that you should be making a noch bracha after you finish eating it. But that would be a hefsek, a problem. So we eat less than a kazayis of karpas. The problem with eating less than a kazayis of karpas is then that it's not called eating. Eating is only if you eat a sheer kazayis, a level of a kazayis. So this is the Gemara that works it out. Now, it's not going to sound like our Seder. So be patient. Eventually, the Gemara will roll around to what we do today, almost as an aside, not actually as the halacha, as an aside, and that's how we do it. So you just have to be patient and let the Gemara work its way through. So we begin. That's the Mishnah. Again, we're on the bottom of 114a2 at the Mishnah on the bottom. So after we did the Kiddush, we did the first couple of the four cases. Heviu lefanav, they brought in front of him vegetables for karpas. And what do? Mitavel b'chazeres ad shemagia leparperes hapas. He dips the lettuce and eats the lettuce. It doesn't say into what he dips the lettuce. He dips the lettuce. Now, yes, we dip it into salt water. We'll get to this. They think it might mean, the Gemara is going to think it means he's dipping also into charoisis, which is what we dip the maror into. So heviu lefanav. So again, heviu lefanav umitavel b'chazeres, and he dips the lettuce. Chazeres is lettuce, and that's fine. Ad shemagia lepaperes hapas. Okay, until he gets to the paperes hapas. And if you take a look at 1, 2, 3, 4 lines from the bottom, the Rashbam, Choydem sheyigia la'oise chazeres shu oichel acher matzah shehu mevorek al achilas maror. You eat the karpas, and then you wait until the second lettuce that you eat in conjunction with having made an achilas, you make the achilas maror, because the diksiv al matzah is umeroin in your clue. V'tchila matzah, First you eat matzah, the achar kach mora. The tivul rishon, and the first dipping at the beginning of the Seder, the second to last line of the Rashbam, zeh kedei, the whole reason for karpas, sheyakir tineg, that the kids should see it, be yishal, and they should ask questions. Why on this night do we do 2 dippings instead of 1 dipping? Because normally people do not eat vegetables before the meal gets started. So that's what we're talking about here. Once again, now we start the Mishnah again. The Mishnah, the bottom of 114a2. Okay? They bring in front of him karpas, lettuce, he dips the lettuce and he eats it, and then he waits till after Magid, ad shemagil parperis apas, until the time of eating of dipping the pas, the secondary to the pas of achilas matzah, and afterwards achilas mora. The shnei tavshilin afal pi she'ein charoisis mitzvah, and they brought, and after the karpas, they bring before him the matzah, right? The filu matzah, and the bechazeres, and the chazeres, and that means, and the lettuce, vicharoisis, and even the, what do you call vicharoisis, uchnei tavshilin, and shnei tavshilin, apapi she'en charoisis mitzvah. You know what the Mishnah just described? The kara, the Pesach plate. You've just been introduced to the Pesach plate. After you dip and eat the karpas, you bring in front of them the kara. What is in the kara? There's matzah in the kara. There's chazeres. There's a lettuce in the and mora on the kara. The charoisis, there's charoisis on the kara. Shnei tavshilin, and 2 cooked dishes, which the Gemara is going to talk about. Okay? So now you bring it. So what does this mean? Apapi she'en charoisis mitzvah, even though there's no actual mitzvah of charoisis, it's only there for the Mara, which the Gemara, of course, therefore will talk about if it's not a mitzvah, what it's doing here. What was going on? In the times of the Gemara, where everybody sat on their own small tables, they leaned on a small couch, and they each had their own individual tables. So what they would do is they would remove the table completely, and only after karpas bring the table back. They would bring the table back and place the kara on top of it, the seder plate on top of the thing. Today, what do? We cover up the kara, meaning that we hide the matzahs, right, with the thing. And then after kairach, by yachatz, when we break the matzah, we open it up, pull out the matzah, break the matzah, put it back in, and then leave it open for halach ma'anya di'achala b'sana. This is the poor bread that our fathers ate. So that's what we do today, because today we have tables that are completely set and not individual tables for every person. Says the Mishnah Baika on 114.83, Rabbi Elazar b'Rabbi Tzadok Omer, mitzvah, charoisis is a mitzvah, and the Gemara will talk about it. U'b'migdash, and in the time that the Beis HaMikdash stood, hayim lefanav gufay shel Pesach, they would bring together the body of the Pesach. As you know, on our Cairo, we have the zeroah, we have the bone, right? That's Zeichel HaMikdash Keilah. But obviously, in the time of the Beis HaMikdash, part of the Cairo plate had to be a piece of the Korban Pesach, because obviously you needed to eat that before Chatzos. So it's all part and parcel of the same idea, right? And it was part of the Pesach plate. And in fact, there's one version of Manishtana that has the question about the Korban Pesach as well. Very good. We're now on Amid Beis, Kuf Yudalit Amid Beis. Says the Gemara, Amir Shlokish, Zoy Meres. This that the Mishnah taught us that we eat the lettuce twice, once for karpas, and an hour later for Mora. This teaches us mitzvah siricha kavana. This siricha is kavana. Take a look at the first Rashbam on Amud Beis. Kuf Yudal Amud Beis 114b1. Look at the first Rashbam. Zay semeres mitzvah siricha is kavana. Mitzvahs need kavana. Mishum hachi, because it needs intent. You have to know what you're doing. Bayi tre tivule. You need two dippings. Shema loy nischabim berisha l'shem mara. Maybe when you ate the karpas, you didn't have in mind as well for mara. Since you make a bracha on karpas only bari priyadama kishay yerokis, like all other vegetables, da'alma shaharei ein adayin achilas matzah umara, right? And it's not yet the time to eat the matzah, which is only after I tell over the story of the Exodus, after I tell over the story of Magid. Then, so we're only going to eat mara an hour later. Mara levarich alav alachilas mara ad la'achamatzah. We don't eat the mara until we make alachilas mara, until after we eat the matzah. So therefore, back to the Gemara. Amarei Shlokish Zaysemeres Mitzvah Siricha Kavana Chivan, because the loy idan chiyuv demara, because the time to eat the mara has not arrived. Who da'achel lay bayre priyadama who da'achel, and you're making a bayre priyadama the dilma, and maybe and Tosfos jumps all over this and says it's not maybe, but vadai, for sure, loy ichaven lemora, by saying bayre priyadama by karpas, you're definitely not going to have in mind that this is also going on the morrow, that the reality of eating this karpas is on the morrow. The Tosfos is on the right hand side, the second and third Tosfos. Anyways, Hilkach,
when we do the seder by karpas, we tell everybody to have in mind not only the karpas, but also the morah.
Yes, we talked about this before, because the bayre priyadama has to go on morah as well, and yet you have an out. The truth of the matter is that
we announce it.
Right. The truth is, however, the truth is in halacha, it doesn't help.
Right.
Because if I make a bayre priyadama now, and an hour and a half later I eat the morah, and in the middle I said magid is a hefsek, so it doesn't go on the tadama. So the truth of the matter is, the whole thing is, like I started today, the whole thing is problematic. It's not simple. There's no good answer. The way we're going to get around it, that's why you're going to see we have to wait for this Gemara to play out until we get out to the way we do it, and somehow get around the problems of all these brachas. But right now, even Daddy, the truth is, this announcement that we make is meaningless. Because I make an Adama now means nothing about something that's going to be in an hour and a half, because you're going to be Mesiach Das. You're definitely not going to keep on remembering that the Adama that I make now is for the Morah later on. Right? So anyways, Hilkach. You have to remember to dip again the shem mora to ease mitzvahs because if you would say that mitzvahs do not require intent to be mikayim the mitzvah, what in the world do I need two dippings? I already dipped once. I dipped the lettuce by karpas, and it should be able to cover the karpas and the maror. Says the Gemara, that's not a proof that mitzvahs need intent. Mitzvahs do not require intent. Then why do I need two dippings? So in other words, there should be a heker, a change for the children, so the children shall ask, why is this night different than all other nights? Parcel of the mitzvah of the night of Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim, of telling over the story of Mitzrayim, as opposed to the mitzvah of the whole year of Zechiras Yitzias Mitzrayim, Laman Tiskor Es Yoim. Remembering does not require question and answer. You can remember, believe in your heart. Pesach by night requires speaking out, the Agadah Levincha, and you shall tell your children. There should be a give and take. You want to plant emunah and bitochen, faith and trust, into the hearts of your children and your own heart. You got to do it by talking out. The physical talking out is a way of planting in a person's heart. So if you say, right, then you should have said that by karpas. Why are you saying that you're using chazeres, lettuce, the romaine lettuce that you could also use by mora? You should say shayurokis. All alel in Yiddish, alel like green side, meaning all kinds of vegetables which you're allowed to use for karpas. We're going to talk about this in a little while. But in karpas, you can use any kind of lettuce. Iyashmin and shayurokis. The reason why the Mishnah deliberately says lettuce, even by karpas, iyashmin and shayurokis. Hava mina, I might have thought, hey, where there are other vegetables, so that for karpas you're eating other vegetables, but you didn't eat the romaine lettuce. So over there, who to be eating tray tibble? Over there, I need to have two dippings because mora must be with the lettuce because it has to have a bitter taste to it. Avo chazeres, but if I did eat karpas, with lettuce, I would say I don't need two dippings. This by karpas, I was becoming the mitzvah of karpas, and I was becoming the mitzvah of eating maror kamash malon. No, tafilu chazeres, even lettuce be eaten tray tivule. You do need two dippings. Why? Number one, because there should be changes in the normal scheme of things so that the children's interest will be piqued and they will ask questions. And we also learned if somebody ate the mai, I'm sorry, the demai from moror. What is demai? Demai is something that we're not sure if truma and maisris was taken out. So normally you can't eat it. You have to go ahead and re-separate it out because I'm not sure whether the trumas and maisris were separated. Here, now vegetables, only midirabonon requires separating of truma. Midiraisa vegetables do not have to be separated truma. So since midirabonon, it's unseparated, they say when it came to demai, if you ate demai, which might be good anyways, we go lekula, we go leniently, oichel demai is yotze. You yotze yechiv of eating mora. Listen further. If you eat the mara without intent, what's the lalacha? Yotza, you yotza, right? And if you eat it not in one shot, but you eat part of it, and then you continue eating 2-3 minutes later, you yotza. mikdei achilas pras. As long as you don't take enough to eat between the two of them, the length of an achilas pras, which is approximately 3 minutes to 9 minutes, i.e. that when we eat in the Seder, the matzah, right, you have to eat your first kazayis matzah, or the guy leading the guy leading the Seder has to eat 2 kazayis of matzah. For matzah, for the mitzvah of Moitzi and the mitzvah of matzah. Each one needs their own kazayis. So the person leading the Seder has to eat 1 full hand matzah within 9 minutes. Anyways, but what do you see? That over here I have a straight up risa that says you don't have to have kavanah, you don't have to have intent. Says the Gemara Tanoi, B'emesin it's a machlokes Tanoim. The Tanya, Rabbi Yosi says, by karpas, even though you dipped with lettuce, mitzvah, it's still a mitzvah, lahavi lafana chazeres v'charoisis for mara, v'shnei tavshilim. And we have two dippings over here. Together with two cooked dishes, meaning on the kaira, on the Seder place, it's a mitzvah to put another lettuce and charoisis for mara and 2 cooked stuff. So it says the Gemara, Ba'akati, so that's Rabbi Yosi, and the Tanakama holds, I need mitzvahs tzrichas kavana. Mitzvahs do need kavana, that's why I have to do it. Ba'akati, the Gemara, Mimai, who said this is proof? Dilma, that Rabbi Yosi holds that you need mitzvahs tzrichas kavana, and that's why he says, even if I ate the karpas with lettuce, I've got to eat a mora again with lettuce. Ba'akati Mimai, Dilma, because some of Rabbi Yosi mitzvahs ain't tzrichas kavana. But Emerson Rabbi Yosi holds, you mitzvahs do not need intent. And the only reason why you need 2 dippings, it's only in order so that there should be a change and the children should come along and ask, why are there 2 dippings today? Says the Gemara, no, I'll prove to you that he means mitzvah tzrichas kavana. In Cain, my mitzvah. What does Rabbi Yosi say? Eve apple pisha tobu b'chazeres. Mitzvah lahavi lefanov chazeres v'charoises v'shnei tavshilim. It's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to bring a second set of lettuce. Elamai, that's proof that according to Rabbi Yosi, mitzvah is tzrichas kavana. So now, while we're talking about the Pesach plate, what is this shnei tavshilim? What is these 2 cooked dishes? So now, the 2 cooked dishes that we have happen to be the zeroah, the bone that is there in place of the carbon Pesach, and the hard-boiled egg, which is in place of the carbon chagiga. So we're representing those 2. But the Gemara really says, you don't need to do that. Listen to this. My shnei tavshilim Rav Huna, Amar Rav Huna, Silka Varuza, cooked beets and rice. Don't all jump down my throat. We Ashkenazim don't get anywhere near rice. And Jerry Abramson, who's a Chabadska, they don't get it near anything. So, the Shulchan Aruch Harav, the Balatanya was like crazy about Pesach. So, it goes like this. So, but they were obviously, this was before Kitnius. This was before the restrictions of Eastern Europe. And so he said, Silka Varuza. Rava Hoya Mahadra Silka Varuza. Rava would actually search out to have beets and rice on his kairo for the 2 cooked dishes. Hoya Vinofik Mipume de Rav Huna, since the teaching came from the mouth of Rav Huna, and Rava held greatly from the teachings of Rav Huna. Amar Rav Shmami know the Rav Huna, we learn out from Rav Huna. That he was not concerned about the ruling of Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Titania, but we are. Titania, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, Oyreis min doganu. Oires is in fact one of the grains. It's one of the 5 grains, which means v'chayev al chimotze koris, you're liable for koris, for eating them if they rise, if they become chametz. And therefore, because I hold that rice could become chametz and is one of the grains, says Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, therefore, Adam Yedei Yaitze B'Yedei Chavosa B'Pesach. And therefore, one could be Yaitze is chiyuv of eating matzah with rice matzah, with a rice cake. It can be Yaitze with a rice cake according to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. So we, of course, take all its different sides. We don't use rice, and we don't use it for matzah. Goes further. Back again. Achiski Oima, Afilu Dogu Beitza Shalom. Even a fish which is basted with an egg, Its egg is smeared over it. 114b3, Rav Yosef Omer, Rav Yosef says, that's considered 2 cooked dishes. Okay? So he holds, Chizkiah holds, that's what's considered 2 cooked dishes. It doesn't have to be 2 mutually exclusive. They can be together. You can have a fish and a smeared egg on top of it. We're good to go. Rav Yosef Amitzaref Shnei Mine Basa. You need 2 kinds of meat. Echad Zeicha LePesach, ve'echad Zeicha LeChagiga. One for the Zeicha of the Pesach offering, and one for the Chagiga, which is V'samachta B'chagecha. You should celebrate in your holiday. You brought a korban Chagiga to celebrate with Hashem. Ravina says, Afilu Garma Ubishulay. Even a bone and its broth, the bone and the juice that comes with it, the gravy, that's already 2 cooked dishes. We're back to Karpas and Mora. Pshita, it's obvious. Hey, where other vegetables are available. Mevorech, Ashab, Yerakis, you make the bracha on all other vegetables for the Karpas. Bayar Priyadama ve'ochel. You eat Bayar Priyadama and you eat. V'hodar, and later after the magid, and after you eat the matzah, you then sit down to eat the mora. Mevorech al achilas mora v'ochel. You make an achilas mora and you eat the mora. Hey, the lettuce of the mora. Hey, chodolekad elav yachasa. But in the case where you only have lettuce, so you're going to use the lettuce for both karpas and mora. What's the din? What do you do? Rav Huna says, Rav Huna, mevorech mikara. At the time of karpas, you make mevorech mikara. This is our case. You make the Bari Priyadama and you have in mind the karpas and the morar, and you eat the karpas. And an hour later, after you eat the matzah and after you said magid, and after you eat the matzah, you then recite what do you call it? Alachilas mora, and you eat it. Now, simply put, this sounds like us. We eat the karpas, we make a very priyadama, we have in mind the mora, and then an hour later, what? We eat the mora, and we make an alachilas mora. In fact, this is not us. And I will talk about it in a minute. We're now on today's daf. Kuf Tez Vav Amud Aleph. We have another 10 minutes. Because, Daddy, cover your ears. Don't listen to this. But I overslept and I didn't daven Shachris yet. So, Baruch Hashem for semi-eye, there's a 9 o'clock minute. Anyways, but you didn't hear that. Maskevlog Rav Chizda. Says Rav Chizda, no. La'ach shemi kiresoi. Hey, mimu chayzem mevorech halel. Now that you filled up your stomach with karpas, you're gonna drench again a achilas mara memarishach. If I hold that mitzvahs ain't tzrichas kabbalah, if mitzvahs do not require intent, then when I ate the lettuce for karpas, I automatically was mekayim my mitzvah of achilas mara. And even if mitzvahs tzrichas kabbalah, I filled myself up with vegetables. I fill myself up now with vegetables. How can I go ahead? But listen, I can't go ahead and make. I already ate my vegetables. How can I go ahead later on and make an achilas mara? Which is really a fancy way of saying also, just because I made a better priyadama now, how can you say in an hour and a half that better priyadama is going to apply now to this mara? Right? So Ella Amar Rav Chisda says Rav Chisda. Ella Amar Rav Chisda. Neva Mikara. Listen to this. Mevarich Aleh by Karpas. Mevarich Aleh priyadama and Barachilas mara be'ochil. At Karpas you make both brachas. Priyadama and Barachilas mara. Okay? Barachil be'ochil, and you mekayem both mitzvahs. You mekayem the mitzvah Karpas and mara with the eating of the Karpas lettuce. Ulu b'soif. And at the end, meaning after you wash, after magid, and after you eat the matzah. Now you need to eat the maror because the pasuk puts matzah and maror together. Matzah sumirayur and yechlu ochil achilas chasa. You eat the lettuce below bracha. You don't make a bracha at all. Look at the Rashbam below bracha, the first Rashbam. Mishum the boy trey tabule, because the whole reason that you're just doing the second dipping, even though I was already mekayem the mitzvah of eating maror, and I made the bracha maror according to Rav Chisda backed by Karpas, Bayer priyadama and achilas maror in order to connect the Bayer priyadama to the maror. So I was mekayem the mitzvah. Why do I need the second one? Kedei she'yishalu asatinoikis, so that the kids should ask questions. The Syria, right? In Surah, this is Al Hira in Iraq. Adi Rav Huna. They did like Rav Huna. What did Rav Huna do? That person made a better priyadama, and he ate in the lettuce for karpas. Better priyadama. And then afterwards, an hour later, he ate the mara and made the bracha l'chilas mara at the time of mara.
That's what we do.
No. Not exactly. I told you we do. You'll see in a minute. Patience. But Rav Sheshes Breder Rav Shua Ovid ki Rav Chisda. Rav Sheshes Breder Rav Shua did like Rav Chisda. They ate a bar priyadama and an achilas mara at Karpas, and an hour later he ate the mara without a bracha. The hilchasa, and this is actually the halacha. Look at the little aleph. If you look at the little aleph, the Rambam and Hilchos Matzah, Chametz Matzah, Halacha Yud Beis, and the Tur Shulchan Aruch in Orach Chaim Siman Tuf Ayin Hey. The halacha actually is Kavasei de Rav Chisda. That the truth is, patience. The halacha is you're supposed to make a very priyadama and an achilas mara right at the time of the karpas, when we eat the lettuce by karpas. So how come we don't do this? The next piece of Gemara says the next piece. Rav Acha b'rei de Rava mahadesh asha yerokis. Rav Acha went out of his way to make sure that the karpas, he ate no lettuce. He ate other vegetables that were no good for mara. He ate potatoes, he ate radishes on the karpas. So what he was eating for the karpas did not help for the mara, because mara must be lettuces. La fuke nafshe plukta, to get himself out of this argument. So today, Rabbi Isai, here's a vart. Everybody get your pen out. Karpas, kof, reish, pei, samach. Kof is for carrots, reish is for radishes, pei is for potatoes, samach is for celery. Carrots, radishes, potatoes, and celery. The Hebrew letters tell us exactly which vegetables we eat today. The kof is for carrots, the reish is for radishes, the pei is for potatoes, the samach is for celeries, but not lettuce. We eat carrots, rats. So in my father's house, if he remembers, one night we ate potatoes, And one night, the first Seder, we ate potatoes, and the second night, we eat radishes, or backwards the other way. One night radishes, or we mix it together, but one thing we don't use is lettuce. So this is the play. And if you remember, Daddy, we always make the karpas small, so that you make a bayre priyadoma. You tell everybody have in mind moror, but we don't eat enough that I have to make a bayre with fashas. Because I don't want to have a heker. I don't want to be Mesir Das. I want the bayre priyadoma to connect to the moror. But the moror is only on romaine lettuce. That's why we don't use romaine lettuce unless we have to. But if you did use romaine lettuce, you would have to make a bayre priyadoma and an achilas moror at the time of karpas. That's what we do. We do like Rav Acha Breder Abba because we don't want to get involved in this fight between Rav Chizda and Rav Huna. We deliberately do not eat lettuce. And now you know the rest of the story. Carrots, radishes, potatoes, celery. That's what you can ask at the Seder. What does karpa stand for?
What?
Carrots, radishes, potatoes, and celery.
Where did we allow to do moror with lettuce? When did this come? The moror is allowed to be done with romaine lettuce.
Okay, so on the contrary, the Gemara takes it for granted that actually romaine lettuce is the preferred way for moror. This that we take the grated moror and all that, that's us who added that in because we want to make it that much more bitter. Lettuce, as you know, by itself has a certain bitter taste to it, to its stalk. That was enough for the Gemara, for the Mishnah. They always did that. Jerry, they were always doing greenhouses and planting lettuces. What we guys do came much later. In fact, I know it sounds strange. We think the white stuff is the real moror. It's not. So in fact, I do both. I take romaine lettuce and I put inside the romaine lettuce some of the white moror, some of the ground up moror, some of the ground up horseradish. But horseradish in reality is because let me tell you the real problem with horseradish. Is horseradish sharp or is horseradish bitter? Jerry, what do you say?
I think it's bitter.
Okay, so most people would tell you that horseradish is sharp. It's not bitter. So in truth, there's a difference between sharp and bitter. And the halacha is you're supposed to be bitter. So what we do is we mix it. We do lettuce and we put it together. Guys, I hate to do this. I know we're almost 2 dafim behind, but I have to stop because I got to catch a minion at 9 o'clock. So we are up to Amar Ravina, okay? And we're going to get into this, okay? And tomorrow I will definitely try to pick up speed and get us back onto the dot. Today's dot is actually Kuf Tet Zayin. And I will work on getting us tomorrow, doing at least a daf and a half. Okay?